Yatra netra yena tvaya bharat taila purna prajvalito jnanamaya pradipa. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dhyanamoolam Gurur Murti Pujamoolam Gurur Padam Mantramoolam Gurur Vacham Mokshamoolam Guru Kripa. Om Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Sadguru Bhagavan ki jai, Satchidananda Bhagavan ki jai, Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Gita Maharani ki jai. Hari Om. रख दो और दो तीन. Yesterday we saw the 14th chapter and 6th sloka. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakasakam anamayam sukha sangena vadnati jnana sangena cha anagha. Hey, O Arjun, of these sattva which from its stainlessness is luminous and healthy, binds by attachment to happiness and by attachment to knowledge, O sinless one. Yesterday we saw this. Sattva is stainless like the crystal. It lays for one the trap of happiness and knowledge. By having happiness and knowledge, the soul is trapped. It is a golden fetter. A sattvic man compares himself with others and rejoices in his excellence. He is puffed up with his knowledge. His heart is filled with pride when he thinks that he has more comforts or more pleasant experiences out of knowledge. He thinks, I am happy, I am wise, and so he is bound as it were. These ideas really belong to the field, but they are transformed through the superimposition to the self on account of force of sattva guna. This we have seen yesterday. Sattva binds the Purusa. Sattva is nothing but nature, the pure nature. it binds with the attachment or pride for one's knowledge and happiness. Rajas and tamas are pitfalls on the path of knowledge. This knowledge also, it can be informative knowledge, and also it is the experiential knowledge. In both the knowledge, rajas and tamas are the obstructions. This attachment to happiness is an illusion. This is ignorance. An attribute of the object cannot belong to the subject. All the qualities from desire to firmness, dhritti, to the subject, all the qualities from desire to firmness belong to the field. From ignorance, non-discrimination is born, and so the individual self is not able to discriminate between the permanent and impermanent, the subject and the object. Ignorance means not knowing the truth. And this is how the discrimination does not work, and it this embodied the Purusha. It cannot understand what is permanent and what is impermanent. Knowledge is an attribute of the Antakarana, inner instrument, which is mind, intellect, the unconscious and the ego, but not of the self. This knowledge, what is talking of, knowledge is an attribute of the Antakarana, the fourfold mind. Mind, intellect, and the unconscious means the ignorance, we can say, and the ego, but not of the self. It belongs to, it is, all these are the parts of nature. If it were an attribute of the self, it could not produce attachment and bondage. Sattva binds the soul to knowledge through attachment. This is the essence of this sloka. How the sattva becomes the cause for bondage. The sattva encourages the soul to have the knowledge and pleasure, because it is the nature of the quality sattva. So when one gets this knowledge is known as the informative knowledge, which is caused by the contact of the senses with the sense objects. It is informative knowledge, and that is because it is not complete, not perfect, So every moment one tries to have perfect knowledge. So desires are born, and thereby it is attached to the knowledge. I must have perfect knowledge. Where there is need, then there is effort to fulfill the need, because it is imperfect. So the need arises to make it perfect, and that is a desire only. So when there is desire, there is attachment and bondage. You are attached. Attached means you are close up, you have become one with the object or subject. This is how sattva binds the soul by sukha, pleasure, and jnanam, the knowledge. Now we shall see Rajaguna. Rajo ragatmakam vidhi trishna sanga samudbhavam tan nivadnati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. When we see this rajas, he says, know thou, O Arjuna, rajas to be of the nature of passion, raga. The source of thirst for sensual enjoyments and attachment, it binds fast, O Arjuna, the embodied one, by attachment to action. Why it is attachment? Because you know you have so much passion, you want to enjoy the sensual objects. So naturally there will be desires. Trishna sangena Trishna sanga samudbhavam, the source of thirst and attachment. Trishna means thirst. Keen desire is called Trishna. Restlessness to get something, that is called Trishna. Karma sangena, by attachment to action. Ragatmakam, of the nature of passion, attachment. The quality of rajas denotes activity and ambition. Ambition is Trishna, same thing, passion. Rajas is nothing but ambition and activity. When there is some desire, the person cannot keep quiet unless it fulfills the desire, till it fulfills the desire. And that's how, because of innumerable desires in us, we ever engage in the fulfillment of the desires, which is unending. When one desire is fulfilled, it gives rise to many others. So it increases, and instead of getting satisfied, one desire is satisfied, and it creates a strong impression, and that impression cannot keep quiet. The nature of the impressions or memories are to multiply. This is the law of nature. So naturally, when one desire is fulfilled, it has to give rise to many others. The Rajasic man is full of cravings and desires. The cravings force him to act for their fulfillment. We have to, yes.
Maharaj, from a relative point of view, should we understand this desire is also a cyclic movement, repetition?
What? Desire.
Desire movement.
Yes. When one desire is fulfilled, it creates some impression, and impression, when it is stored, when it gets the favorable conditions, it tries to multiply. Just as the seeds kept in the storehouse, ready for sowing in the field when the favorable season comes. The seeds are only for multiplication. One seed becomes many, and those many again, every one becomes many. In that way, it goes on increasing in geometrical ratio. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4. Unending. It is a chain reaction. आज दूसरे लोग क्यों नहीं मिल रहे हैं भाई? कोई नहीं है रे आज? हरिओम, क्या हो रहा है? What is the trouble? So when the Rajasic man is full of cravings and desires, the cravings force him to act for the fulfillment, and he gets attached to attachment. He gets attached to those who help him in the fulfillment of his desires, and hates those who stand in his way. So, attachment for the helpers and hatred towards the interpreters, those who interrupt in the achievement. He is attached to action. He enters on great undertakings, project, plan for the future, so that all my desires will be fulfilled. And he takes the help of past impressions and plans for the future, how to fulfill my desires. The desires are only the basement of our relative life. Without desire, nobody can even live for a moment. He performs various sorts of sacrifices and rituals and charitable activities. Why? A Rajasic man performs various sorts of sacrifices and rituals and charitable activities. Why? A Sattvic man should do all these. A Rajasic man does all these. Why? To fulfill his desires only. Desires are mainly based upon enjoyment, not to suffer. Whatever desires we have, We don't know the consequence of the desires, but we think it will give us pleasure. So, for pleasure's sake, I must enjoy for long, long time. So I must go to heaven. I must go to different higher planes and enjoy for many kalpas. And then shall I see what happens. Never mind, if I come back, again I shall perform the same thing. He runs after sensual pleasures and his desires become insatiable, like a flame fed by oil. The self is not the doer, it is the silent witness, but Rajas creates in the man the idea, I am the doer, because it binds by through the desires and actions. राजा किसके साथ बांधता है? रजो रागात्मक विधि तृष्णा संग समुद्भवम तन्निबध्नाति कौन्तेय कर्म संगेन देहिनम. It forces one to act, to do actions. What for? Only for enjoyment. I must do something to fulfill my desires of pleasure, enjoying pleasure. So what happens? He performs some good actions only for enjoyment. And he enhances his desires, he doesn't know it. You see, have you heard the story of our Indradumna? Indradumna was a great king in the time of in Satyayuga or somewhere. Long, long past, there was a king named Indradumna. He conducted sacrifices continuously for years and years, for thousands of years. Because in those days, the people were living for a long time. Thousands of years they were living. So he was conducting sacrifices for his pleasure's sake, and wherever he starts performing sacrifices, the earth it turns into ashes, and there becomes a big hole. So he has to change every now and then the place. And finally he thought, I must find out some place which will not melt like this. So he searched for a big tortoise, who was a long-living tortoise, and he caught him hold and brought it on its back. Tortoise back is made of such a hard shell, it never gets affected by anything. And he hides himself within that. So he went on doing sacrifices on its back, and there came out blood from its skin, and there became a river of blood, and that was named as Mohinadi, and its water is only reddish. blood-like. In our Puranas, in Skanda Purana, you will find this. And the king went on doing it. And finally, he went to Brahmalok, Satyalok, where Brahma abides. And he enjoyed there for thousands of kalpas. He enjoyed there for long, long time. And when all his merits are exhausted, he has enjoyed all these righteous works are just like money. It is your wealth, it gives you pleasure. And when everything is exhausted, Brahma said, you have to go back to earth plane. And Indradimna asked, how can I come back again? It is so pleasant here. So Brahma said, if you can earn more fame, name and fame, then only you can come. If any trace of fame, your fame is there on the earth, if you can revive it, then you can come again. So Indradimna came to earth plane as a human being, and he was searching for his name and fame if it is yet there on the earth. There is a saying in Sanskrit, Kirtirjasya sa jivati, whose fame is there, he is alive. As long as fame, name and fame is there on the earth, you are alive, you will go on enjoying. So people do good works only to have their selfish satisfaction. One among millions will be desireless and doing service to others. Everybody likes to have the result of the good works, service, love, and sharing with others. The result one wants. People should tell me, oh, very good man, to get some praise, to get some name and fame, that is hidden in the heart. Everybody wants name and fame. There are three types of very we can say higher desires which never gets satisfied. Almost all the beings, they have the same desires. Three types. What are they? Putresana. Esana means desires. Putresana, Vittesana, and Lokesana. Lokesana means to go to higher planes and enjoy. This is the most intense desire which can never be satisfied. And other two are, one is, let my progeny go on eternally, increasing, let it not end anywhere. Why? Because they will remember me, they will give me wherever I am, they will support me in the subtle planes also. That is Pindadan, etc. When we give Pinda, do some rituals for the ancestors, wherever they are, they get it by your feelings, your bhav. with what you operate, the subtler beings, the ancestors, they accept the subtle aspect of your actions. They don't accept the gross, means whatever pinda you give, that is not accepted by the ancestors, the subtler beings who are in the subtler planes. They accept your feeling, your bhav. Thereby they are satisfied. That is their food. Subtler beings have subtler foods. These are the food. So in that way, this lokesana, let my putresana, let my progeny go on endlessly, go on increasing. And vittesana, of course, everybody likes wealth. Without wealth, our life is not fulfilled. It is not satisfied, because human life has four aspects: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Four aspects of life. Dharma is righteousness, artha is wealth, and kama is desires, and moksha, the liberation from all these bondages. So everybody will have all these four. Everybody wants to get rid of all these transactions of life where we are ever engaged. We have no rest. So everybody wants to rest. Why for a while? Why not for eternity? Let me rest. Everybody is tired of these worldly affairs. But yet, because of its habit, because of ignorance, kama, karma, avidya, because of ignorance, we go on searching for happiness, which we don't know where it is available. We go behind the satisfying the desires, thereby we may get some pleasure, some peace, but the result happens opposite to it. Yet we don't come to sense because of habit, because of our storehouse of all the memories and impressions which force us to be engaged in actions and reactions. We want good reactions, we want to enjoy it. That's how. So Indradyumna came back and he was searching for the name and fame. He went on meeting the old people who can remember something about history of Indradyumna in the past, maybe. So he went to some long-living being who was living for 100 years or 200 years. He could not recollect any name like Indradyumna from the history. Then he goes to still more longer being. And in that way, finally, he reached the tortoise who was living in Mansarovar in the end. He was living for 56 kalpas. He was immortal being, the tortoise. And the story of tortoise also is a different story. How he became a tortoise, yet he is a long-living being. What good he did and what bad he did, both. That's why because of bad actions he became tortoise, but because of good actions he became long-living being. So all stories and many other long-living beings were accumulated by our Indradumna. They were searching for someone who can remember Indradumna. And finally they met our tortoise, and he was afraid of Indradumna when he saw Indradumna on the bank of the lake. So Indradumna heard. He asked, why you are afraid, why you are hiding yourself in the water? Whom do you fear? So he said, you are the fellow. You are my enemy. Have you come back again to perform sacrifices on my back? I know you. You are the cruel fellow. So Indradumna said, no, I have come only to revive my fame. So the moment he said, I know you, the chariot from Brahmaloka comes and asks Indradumna to go back again to Brahma's realm. But before going back, they gathered together there and all heard their stories to each other. Everybody narrated their life stories, how they are like this, how they have become long-living beings, and of what they are enjoying the result of good actions and enjoying both the course of bad deeds also. Among those, there were a human being who was about 200 years old, another crane, an owl, and a snake, and a vulture, and who else? In this way, 6 or 7. Beautiful, long story. So this gives us how a person is attached to enjoyment. He did sacrifices for thousands of years, and yet his desires are not satisfied. And he wants name and fame. This is how the 3 desires for better worlds, for enjoyment, and desires for name and fame, desires for progeny. These 3 desires are very, very strong, which binds a person. Rajas pleases the mind and keeps alive the passions. Because of hope, we live. Without hope, nobody can live for a moment. A Rajasic man is never contented. It interrupts our contentment. Because every moment we have desires, and ever we are engaged in fulfilling our desires, and desires never get satisfied. It grows, it multiplies. So our life is spent only for fulfilling the desires. And this is how Rajas keeps on encouraging the passions, keeps alive the passions. It never gets satisfied, never gives satisfaction. So it is the just opposite to contentment. Contentment is the greatest virtue. संतोषमृत तृप्तानाम यत् सुखम शांत चेतसाम अभितो ब्रह्म निर्वाण samam samadhigacchati. After having the absolute contentment, one can have the real rest, peace and real enjoyment. If you are satisfied, then everything is with you. That is the greatest enjoyment. That is interrupted, that is opposed by Rajas, because Rajas enhances the desires, and desires never give you rest. In this way, you never can be satisfied. So tomorrow we shall further see how Rajas acts again. Hari Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnada Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevamashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadguru Bhagavan ki jai. Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Gita Maharani ki jai. Satchidananda Bhagavan ki jai. Hari Om.